Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Hello everyone, I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back. Maverick family and new viewers. Great to have everybody here again. It's been an exciting day. The Million March for Children. What else can you call it except a great success, a huge victory? It went off with really, from what I've seen anyway, only a few minor incidents, especially when you consider that it happened countrywide, all across Canada, and thousands and thousands. I mean, I don't know how many people showed up. Did 1 million people show up? Don't know. Too many people to count. So I guess it's even possible that they did get 1 million people. It was that big, that well attended in Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, London, Ontario, Windsor, Ontario, all the major cities, Maritimes. It was peaceful, for the most part. There were clashes, but not like people were afraid would happen. Not even close. We saw that Zoom meeting with those union leaders days before that was leaked to the public where they were really amping everything up. They were mobilizing counter protests. And they did happen, but not nearly on the scale that the union leaders were planning or telling us that, inadvertently telling us was going to happen. So we have that to talk about tonight. Also, Justin Trudeau at the United Nations. There's ongoing fallout from that murder out in British Columbia that may be linked to the government in India. So I'll try to update you on that. And we'll just kind of coast here. I think we're going to go to the phones too, so that you can talk about what happened today with this Million March for Children here in Canada. Clearly the biggest story of the day today, maybe the week, maybe the month. It was historic. I'll give it that. And I'm so relieved that it all turned out so peacefully and so positively. So we'll share some clips with you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. You can watch these little promos. And while I do that, I need to fix one of the streams going out to one of our channels. So I'll do that. You watch this, then we'll come back and we'll begin tonight's broadcast. Be right with you.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm setting up the phone lines. Hopefully it works tonight. We've been having some difficulty with the system, but this will be a good test. A very good test. Okay, I'm going to put the number up here. Here's how you can call in and join the conversation.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a maverick. Join us.
Okay, the phone lines are set up. We don't normally go to the phones right off the top of the show, but we will tonight because we were on for over 6 straight hours today broadcasting. So let's just flow right into tonight's show. And you guys can call in at 1-833-975-3733, 1-833-975-3733. And just a reminder that if you like what we do here, you can support the show at freedomreporters.com or at maverickdonations.com. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you're over on the Rumble channel, please make sure you subscribe over there. And if you're not on the Rumble channel, please go to the Rumble channel and subscribe over there because we need to continue to grow over on that free speech platform to get away from the censorship platforms that we are on, where we are demonetized and demonized and dehumanized and just rejected, but that's okay because we still have each other. And here we go. Let's get to these phone calls, shall we? Yes, let's do that. Okay. Got to get this configured on the screen over here and put that over there and click over here and put that up there. And then click that right there. And then we're ready to go to Jake, our first caller of the night. How are you tonight?
Good. How about you, Rick?
I'm just fine, thanks.
First time being a caller on the show, actually. I'm sure everybody knows me in the comments. You know, the Little Mouse of the South. So I thought for tonight, I'd make my first call in.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
So for the protest, it was actually a really great day in Windsor. A big turn up compared to what we've seen in protests in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
And lots of peacefully, we had, a couple problems, but mostly it was peaceful. The counter protesters were trying to antagonize us, but we weren't having it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seemed to be the theme across the country, really.
Mm-hmm. And Leo, I guess, was saying, I wasn't there right on time, but I ended up getting there later still. But I guess Leo was saying there was some guy in a building egging people, and I guess he ran up there, and I guess the guy took off. It's just amazing how today turned out on the good side.
I think it's amazing too. It truly is.
And that, this is going to make Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh look absolutely more like fools. And that this, I'm not, trying to be biased or anything, but this could turn for pure Polyev because, Justin Trudeau was using Muslims or everything to gain voter support. And now that he's turning on them, it could crash them.
I agree.
And I hope it does.
I agree. Yeah, I think you're right on target there. Yeah, definitely.
I've been watching all over. I've been putting footage up. It's just been amazing. I think, like you said, I think we're well over the million mark.
Could be. I have no idea. There's just too many cities, too many people. Can't count them all. So I think that they caught Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh flat-footed. I think the public in general, I think, is surprised. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting anywhere near this kind of turnout, especially on a Wednesday.
And even the left, they're saying, "Oh, we're racist," and all, like the usual words that we hear from the left. And it's like, I even said in a speech today I said, we're all one. It doesn't matter about race, color, religion. We're all in one. We agree with the one message, leave our kids alone.
Yeah. 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 It's, it was truly amazing.
I think this is just the start. There isn't going to be an end until this ends.
Well, I thought it was also a victory for free speech today because the left, through these unions, they were trying to organize counter protests that really had a single objective, and that was to shut this thing down, demoralize people so they wouldn't come out and prevent people from expressing themselves through public protest. But so many people came out that it was a victory for free speech that way. It struck a blow against cancel culture, in my view.
100%. And that was the main goal. Whether what side you're on. Even though I don't agree with the other side. It was more important to hear both sides without being just cut off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's
and and it's just so amazing just to be with the crowd. It was a positive energy, and I haven't felt that in a long time. It's been 3 years.
Yep. Yeah.
And hopefully, when I went to school, and I mean, it was recent that I graduated, maybe 5 years or so, but this wasn't happening in schools when I went there. Sure, there was little things, but, everybody was able to fit into one circle compared to now where everybody's being divided.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I kind of took note of when I was out at the event here in my town. I said it really has kind of united people, but not in the same way that you get this unity on the on the left neoliberal side. Over there, it's all identity politics where they put people into like groups, But over here, I think that people united behind a cause, but still retained their individual identities. Regardless, it wasn't just, I don't think that the people were put into these little categories of victimhood in the same way. So I think it was a very positive thing that way.
Exactly. And, and I've seen many messages over on like X and stuff, like saying, people, like if they are gay or transgender and all that, they're still with the protest. Yeah. And that's what I hate, that the left tries to turn on us.
Yeah. 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 In fact, we had a caller in earlier in the day who talked about exactly that. Her daughter, transgender, adult now, but explained why both of them were kind of supportive of today's event. So we did see quite a bit of that, actually. And then in my town too, we saw the counter protesters actually saying, "I love you" to the people who are marching, and then the marchers saying it back to the other side. So
And see,
that surprised me.
for us, actually, absolutely. And for us, they just tried to mock us with our own message. And, we were just laughing. Like, you're trying to trigger us and you're just motivating us more just to put our word out there. You're not hurting us.
Now, I know there were some incidents, but I think really they were sort of few and far between. And they're starting to flow in now in video clips. But it's important, I think, as a media guy, I think it's important to realize that as these clips of individual incidents kind of come in, they're condensed. So you get this condensed view of things. So it looks worse than it really is because you'll get like a string of incidents that you can watch in series, right? But in reality, they were like there was one in this city and one way over there, and one in the morning over there, and one in the afternoon way over there, and so it makes up like a very, very small, teeny tiny small percentage of the entire event itself. You know what I'm saying? It's like you focus on it because it's
Yeah.
right in front of you, but it really wasn't that much.
And that's all the mainstream media paints it as. It's all the bad. It's like, paint the good. Like, stop listening to Bill C-11 and Bill C-18. Just do what you were meant to do. Don't be biased. But when you're paid money talks.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. And you can see that in the mainstream media coverage today. I don't usually watch, but I did look at CTV and CBC. I shouldn't say I don't normally watch. I do watch, but I rarely ever look at CBC. I looked at them today, and it was all negative. Like, even as they...
And,
Yeah.
And, you as a former reporter from there, you like to watch that to catch the things, Sometimes it's not obvious for all people, but,
Yeah, I do. It's like when I first went to journalism school, the professors there said, now that you're learning learning the craft, you will never watch television or listen to the radio the same again. And it's true. I never have since then because you're sort of involved in the process now of creating it. So you begin to understand that the medium really is the message, and you start to look for these sorts of things and understand not only why stories are chosen, but why things aren't chosen, why stories are covered in particular ways. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here, too. It's about perspective and context, and it's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I haven't watched mainstream media for a long time, and I never will. I don't even watch cable anymore. It's like I pay attention to your show and maybe other channels that are still growing out there, but I will never touch the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, I never tell people not to watch stuff. I think, people should be free to watch
Maybe
whatever they
local.
want, but, and I don't think it hurts to dip in once in a while to see what they're saying over there, because if you don't pay attention, then you sort of block out perspective too, even if it's stuff you don't agree with, or even if they're lying. I think it's still useful to know what they're up to, right? So you can
Or like local.
Yeah, well, there was
to see what's going on.
absolutely, yeah. Like there was a local reporter from the newspaper here. I've known him for years. He was out covering it today. I hadn't seen him in quite a while, and he's a good guy. I trust him. It's not like every mainstream media reporter out there is an evil, sinister person, right? I trust it.
Right.
I trust that guy. But yeah, I also know that, especially at the network level, they do engage in practices that are less than truthful sometimes because they're spinning the government narrative. They certainly are.
Right, and it's it's not always the reporter too, because like the Freedom Convoy, and recently me and Leo have met with media, and they're just so nice. It's not always just the reporter.
Right, that's right. Yeah, they have editors back in the office who make editorial decisions that they really have no control over, and that often is like, you're going to cover that story, but not that story. So it slants
Right.
the coverage, you know, it really does. And then you get back and they do sometimes edit your scripts or edit your video because they have ultimate control in the end, not just the reporter.
Right. And hopefully, once we can hopefully finally get rid of Justin Trudeau, hopefully we can find some sense of normalcy and to change that, to bring it to where it once was.
Yeah, yeah.
Hoping.
Well, that would involve getting a lot of that government money out of the mainstream media system. Yeah, to take that
And
influence out of there.
pack their bags.
Difficult times though, because the Toronto Star, they've laid off a whole bunch of additional reporters, and they are no longer going to be offering their print edition. And I went to the Variety store the other day, 2 days ago, and a few days ago, just before they canceled the print edition, not knowing they were going to do that. I bought one. I didn't know how much it would cost. You know how much it cost me? Over $4 for a newspaper.
What?
Yeah. For the Toronto
That's
Star.
ridiculous.
I thought so too. I just about had a heart attack.
And I have elderly grandparents that they couldn't believe when it's like, oh, we're switching over to digital, and they're starting to have to learn all these tablets and stuff. It's like, wow, it's like they miss the paper the way that it used to be.
Yeah, yeah. But overall,
you can wake up, have a coffee.
Oh my goodness, yeah. But overall today, beautiful weather. It was around here anyway. It was a gorgeous day, perfect day for a march.
It absolutely was. I thought it was going to be really cold, but actually it turned out just in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went out there after Leo left, and I went there, and I'm like, he's like, oh, maybe the show's over. I'm like, I'll find it. And I found the show. It was actually pretty nice, It was like the Freedom Convoy, food, entertainment. It was great.
Yeah. Well, listen, sir, we're going to move on because I have them stacked up here tonight. Not surprising. Thank you so much for calling in. It was great. Good conversation.
I'll absolutely be calling in the future. Thank you so much, Rick.
Look forward to that. Thanks. Okay, I think it's Julio.
Julio. that was little mouth of the South. Now you got the big mouth of the South. That Jacob, he's a good kid, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was a great
He
call.
apprentices for me at my shop, Rick.
Oh.
He's my apprentice at my shop. And he came to my shop and he says, I'm not the smartest guy. I said, listen, I don't want to hear that shit. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. He's been there for almost 3 years. He's making money. So, Jacob, if you're still listening, donate some of that money to Rick's show. Don't take much. But as a group, if we all contribute, it all adds up. Okay, and you can keep these phone lines running.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Now back to the topic. It's funny. I turned on global news because that's all I have is global news. Okay, and social media. And what they had to say was in Ottawa, maybe 1,000 people showed up.
What?
I'm just shaking my head, going. I swear to God, Rick, I'm shaking my head, going. You got to be joking me, really? How can you hide the numbers?
That's ridiculous.
Only 1,000. It's ridiculous. Okay, and they're trying to pull the same shit again. Trudeau sent out a tweet. Okay, if you look at Trudeau's tweet, he's calling everybody that was down there homophobic. Okay, and we're hatred. So, yeah. And what I thought was funny, somebody messaged me. I don't know. Maybe you would know, and some of the viewers would know. But did Jagmeet Singh have what's that thing? We're going to call it the vid. Does he have the vid? Somebody said he has the vid, and he should be staying home for 14 days. But he's out there mixing and mingling.
I didn't hear that.
That's something to look into, because if he does, okay, we got a big shitstorm happening.
Yeah, let me just look.
Right, so yeah, somebody said they sent me a message. So I don't know if it's true or not. That's why I'm asking you. Maybe you know.
I just typed in Jagmeet Singh COVID, and nope, I'm not seeing anything come back that's current.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so that's false information. On the other hand, okay, I could see myself, and it was very well organized today. They did draw a permit. That's why I didn't go down to City Hall. They had their run to the school board and then back to the riverfront, right? But I'm not on the fence. I'm doing it. We got a couple more protests to go, but I'm going to draw a permit, okay, for a protest to protest inflation in the housing crisis, in the homelessness, and roll it all into one big ball of wax. Now, what names are you going to call us after this one, Justin Trudeau? Those are real issues, okay?
Yeah.
Very, very serious issues. And people are losing, they're losing everything. You know, when you can't afford to eat, you can't afford the heat, you can't afford the roof over your house. This is Canada 2023.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. People, a lot of things are just out of reach for people now.
It is. And that's a big issue, right? And a protest like that could probably draw 10 million people out of their doors.
Yeah.
On a weekend.
Yeah.
Right? Because it affects probably, this is no word of a lie to the people listening right now in Canada, it's affecting more than half of the Canadians. I'm not going to go with 2/3. I'm going to go with a half, okay, that it's affecting. And it's not good. It's scary times for a lot of people, buddy.
Yep, it is. That's what happens when you have a government that when it's reckless with the economy, reckless with the dollar, reckless with spending, reckless with taxes, just no restraint.
I went and got my dry cleaning done today because I got a wedding coming up on the weekend, right? And the dry cleaner there, she's telling me about how she rents an apartment, but she's been there for years, and you can only push the rent up 5%, whatever. But a unit next door went up for rent, and he doubled the rent. As soon as they moved out, he doubled up the rent for the next person, right? And you have the Liberals crying, saying, "Oh, well, we're going to fix this housing crisis, but it's going to take us 3 years." The Liberals won't be here in 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's lip service and a bunch of bullshit, right? So, the sooner you put pressure on the government, and you could do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, if 10 million people got out on a weekend to protest about what's really going on, okay, financially in Canada, you could push this turd right out the door.
Well, this protest today, this hurts Trudeau for sure. A lot.
Oh yeah, and also his doings in India. Now, India is a trade partner. We're going to lose billions, folks, lots of billions, without trading with India. And it's starting to stifle to the U.S. in their trade. I seen in the news today that the Americans, okay, that's something, okay, that should have been kept secret. That's confidential when you have agents. And every country does it. Okay, don't kid yourself. Every country goes out and assassinates somebody in another country. That's been going on for 100 years.
Yeah, well.
Okay, the Americans do it. The Russians do it. The Canadians do it. East India, China does it. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
You got a dissident that you want gone, they send their special agents to do it. Mm-hmm. So that should have been kept top secret. And he went out blabbing his mouth. If it did happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the motivation is there. I don't know.
They shunned him. That was the motivation.
You think that was it?
And now he's trying to cock block him at the end of the day, right? And I don't know. The sooner we get this punk out, the better off we are, and do it peacefully. Like today, just keep applying pressure.
Yeah.
Right? And try and keep it as nonviolent as possible. I had Buddy up at my grill today, and I apologize for the F-bombs that I had to throw, but some people are either flight or fight, and I'm all about fight. At the end of the day, I'm not fighting nowhere.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. And the fights, you want to get in my face and in my grill like that? Well, we go to a back alley and have some consensual fist fighting going on. That's still legal in this country, by the way, and that's not common law.
Well, he got right into your personal space, like he just was right up in your face. That guy. Right,
and we're almost in the middle of another. What are those things called? Scamdemics.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
I should have cracked him for that one, right? And luckily he, some people are just born stupid. They are. They should get the information on somebody before they try and punk them off, because I'm no punk, right? I'm not.
Yeah,
You know,
I did notice his expression changed a little bit when you told him you were the Golden Gloves champ. I did notice
it could have ended really bad for him.
Yeah,
Rick, it could have really ended bad for him, because I got my blood boils, right? Once I hit that boiling point, and only certain things can make my blood boil, and one of them's not money. Believe it or not, it's not money. One of them's messing with my kids, and the other one's messing with my wife, and then messing with me. I'm the third one on that one. Money's not even in the equation to make my blood boil. Yeah. You can rip me off for $100,000. I'm not going to come and kill you. You mess with my kids or my wife, then we got a different story, right? So it is what it is. I'm just glad everything ended peacefully, and I learned a lot from this protest. I did. I learned a lot from this. I learned more from this protest than I think I did from the freedom protest.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
And it was well worth the experience, especially for young folks like Jake. Jake's only 20, 21, 22 years old. He's a young lad, right? So, and for all the youngsters out there, it was a learning experience, and it was a good learning experience. And just keep applying pressure the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. And
in the house of cards will fall.
And we'll see where things go for the rest of the week, because I think that First Nations protest is still ongoing this week, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat.
But, I don't see the First Nation protest happening in Windsor.
No, this is just on Parliament Hill, and it is actually about Bill C-53, and so it was happening at the same time. But they've been trying to keep it separated a bit, and there are some linkages sort of to the convoy thing, but they've separated it out now, and there's a lot of backstory to that. But they were up there today. We carried part of the speeches during our live stream here today, and I think that that's ongoing, because that all has to do with a land, sort of a land claim, but mostly it's about shifting or granting of rights to Métis communities. So that's a complicated issue.
Yeah. And I heard the dog men are coming. So if you're going to Ottawa, bring some dog food. They're hungry. They got to eat too. And I like my pets. Spay and neuter your pets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also Vancouver, by the way, I did see a nice video today. The Antifa were there in Vancouver, dressed in black with the mask. Did you catch that one, Rick?
No, I didn't see that, but yeah, they're pretty active out there.
Yeah, I'll have to send you that video. Yeah, and they're dressed in full black, masks, the whole 9 yards, man. And I'm like, wow. And the police would rather go hit up the peaceful protesters and these clowns that have been destroying everything for the last 10 years. Sad.
Yeah.
Sad. With that being said, Rick, thanks for taking the call.
Thank you, Leo. I appreciate everything you did today.
Have a good day.
Take care. Okay. And
thank you.
Who do we have up next here? No name on the screen.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. So,
this is Chris, everybody. Say hello to Chris, by the way.
Hi, everybody. Maverick family. Red Deer, I guess there was almost 1,000 people there. A lot of people were actually scared to come up closer because there was obviously anti-protesters there. And what they were doing was anybody that had flags or stickers on their cars, they were stopping the people from leaving. They were taking the stickers off the cars, taking the flags off the cars. The police were, I guess, trying to stop them. And I guess it got a little bit out of hand in Red Deer. But Edmonton and Calgary was massive from what I'm hearing and seeing. Edmonton was quite large. And for the most part, yeah, you're right. It's been peaceful. I haven't heard of anything really, violent except for Red Deer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
when
that
you say violence, you're talking about vehicle vandalism that you're mentioning. Was there anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's just that one school trustee, Monica LaGrange, that was the Catholic school trustee, they had removed her from office because she had posted those pictures. Remember I told you of the flags? The kids on the train back in the 40s. Yeah. Okay, so she was up there on the podium, and a friend of mine said she was crying. She was so overwhelmed with the amount of people that came today that want to protect their kids, that now she's going to go and start being an advocate more so now because of the fact that she was treated so badly by the school board. So, yeah, I guess that's not all. Oh, but I did want to tell you, so I went into McDonald's today in the little town I live in here, and it was funny. There was cars parked in the parking lot, and I thought, geez, it seems kind of busy in there. Well, there was people inside walking around in circles in McDonald's, protesting, like, for their kids. And the staff let them do it because there's a lot of people that go there that are very woke, that, you know, they're on the other side, right? And it was actually kind of comical sitting there watching them do that. It was peaceful, like nothing got out of hand, but I mean, I'm surprised that the establishment actually let them even come in to do that.
Okay. All right.
So there you go. So it may not all be outside. A lot of things might have happened inside places today too that, you know, that might pop up. But yeah, it was interesting.
Well, it's a private business, so they can do what they want, I guess.
Exactly. And it was actually nice to see because it was people that I know in this town that are afraid to stand up because this town is very woke. So people are really scared to stand up and speak their minds. So it was actually kind of nice to see that. It's like, okay, well, we're going to put you woke people in your place, more or less. But they were just sitting there watching. Like, there was no anger or hostility, nothing like that. I guess the ones in Red Deer did have masks on because my friend said, why are they wearing masks? Are they sick? I said, no, they're the anti-protesters. She said, well, should we talk to them? I said, no, you need to disengage, keep walking. If they come up to your face, just keep walking. If it gets too bad, go get a cop or something, because that's what they wanted. Yeah. But she said there was only a few of them, like a handful. Like, I mean, the numbers of people that were there for the good outweighed I mean, like, you're seeing that all over, right? Like, you didn't see really, it's almost like those anti-protesters probably didn't really want to be there. They just probably went just, you know, because of that Zoom meeting. But I really feel that if they're all parents, they must all feel, I mean, come on, how can you not want to protect your child, right? That's my thought.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you. I hear what you're saying.
So, I mean, I can't. Your first caller there, I didn't get his name,
Jake.
But
yeah.
Jake, I didn't realize that Trudeau had put out a tweet today again, or Twitter or whatever they're on.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I don't see it, but
yeah.
But anyway.
Like, I just, I mean, he's not even here. Isn't he in New York or something anyway?
Yeah, he's at the UN. Yeah.
So imagine that. You go to Parliament one day and then you take off again. So we're getting lots of stuff resolved in the House again, but it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you know what? I don't understand even know how a prime minister or anybody can call out your people, call the names that he has called people, and not expect people to turn on him. Like, obviously there's something wrong in his mind. And like, I really, like Leo said, I think eventually if we all do things peacefully and put the pressure on, I think, you know, and now this thing with India, maybe his time's coming sooner than we think. Maybe he will just step down or be forced to step down.
He's definitely damaged politically now. No question.
Well, yeah, because this is worldwide now, right? So, I mean, people seeing this again, they're going all over the world. They're going to go, this looks really bad on him. Yeah, it really does. And I'm so glad. Like, I don't know, like you said, I don't know how many people, but if you look at all the different videos coming in, there's massive amounts of people. So, like Leo said, maybe it was over the 1 million mark.
It very well may have been, and that surprises a lot of people.
Did Leo do a video today? Because I heard him saying he had was confronted So are you going to be showing that video? by any chance?
I
Okay.
did show it earlier in the day. I could
Oh,
I could re-queue it and run it for people.
yeah, yeah, that would be great because I didn't even see it. So, yeah, yeah. Other than that, like you said, it was a good day out here. It poured rain, but you know what? That didn't stop the numbers from going out. They're still marching in the rain, so that was wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, Rick. Well, I'll let you go. I just wanted to tell you that little tidbit about McDonald's. I thought it was actually kind of cute.
Thank you.
I mean, there wasn't a whole bunch of them, but it was kind of cool. So you have a good night, Rick. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya. Okay.
Bye.
Here's Brandon. Oh, it's Brendan.
Yeah, it's Brendan.
Hey, how's it
How are
going?
ya?
Great. How are you?
Not too bad, my brother.
Yeah. So what are you thinking?
So I wasn't going to get involved in any more protests or do any protesting, but when QP made those announcements declaring basically myself and everybody I know to be Nazis, essentially, well, I kind of got offended by that, so I went down to the protests to add to the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And I would say overall, like, there was a really good turnout in Sarnia, Ontario at City Hall. Ultimately, like, there was a large, well, not large, I would say like 50 to 80 counter protesters. But I have to say, like, what a vile bunch of individuals. Like, they were just extremely disruptive, extremely vulgar,
Yeah.
extremely, it's almost like an infringement on individuals' rights to gather, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But what really struck me is, like, there's a lot of Muslim families there, and it seems like something's been woken up with this community that you almost never hear from. And then all of a sudden, you see them very publicly decrying everything that's happening. And I think that's really a bad thing for Justin Trudeau.
I would agree with that. Same thing here in my town in Chatham. We have a growing Muslim community here, and they were out today. They came out. There were lots of them from that part of the town.
And they had,
yeah.
They had signs and they had everything. But, like, shame on these people that came, because, like, these were families that went there.
Mm-hmm.
And at no time did anybody attending the protests insult these people or pay them any mind or do anything like that.
Yeah.
But when it came down to walk down the street, there they were giving families and that sort of thing the finger, dropping F-bombs. It's like there's little children here. That's what you're going to do? Stand on a street corner and scream obscenities at children?
Yeah.
We had a woman trail us for most of the walk in her car, and she was just screaming the F-bomb, showing her finger, having the audacity to call us pedophiles. We were pedophiles.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
It's I can't I still have trouble wrapping my head around how you can have two groups of people looking at exactly the same thing and seeing it completely differently. Whether it's the convoy or this issue or this event, but we keep seeing it over and over again. It's like different sets of eyeglasses from, an alternate universe or something. It's bizarre to me.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. And you know who else was there today, right? It was Carla. You know Carla?
Yeah, yeah.
So she was there too, and she had the same expression that you just said, that she's calling us pedophiles. Like, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Like, bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know.
And, I'm all for everybody's freedom to assemble. And so it's like, I'm not going to say anything about them assembling, but they had no class in doing it. No class at all.
Well, in fact, they don't believe in free speech or freedom of expression. Their objective is to shut the other side down. They don't believe in freedom. Not in that way.
Not at all. And that's what's really crazy about like a lot of the articles I'm seeing about this. It's like the media is gaslighting it in this really weird way.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anybody else has pointed this out. But I'm just going to go and say this. But these liberals, these leftists, and these news organizations are being a little Islamophobic, if you ask me.
Interesting observation. And you know, the coverage is not really, I don't think, giving a proper perspective or because I've noticed that the headlines, the stories are slanted in a way that the mainstream media is saying it was this million March for Children protest was met by counter protesters, giving the counter protesters not just equal weight, but even more weight. And I noticed that on CTV today and CBC, they were interviewing counter protesters. They had Jagmeet Singh on to talk about him participating in a counter protest instead of actually focusing on the actual main event, which was overwhelmingly, like, it was just so much larger. It
Very much larger.
Yeah. But they choose to focus on this on the opposite aspect because that's the political agenda that they want to promote.
Exactly. They picked their line in the sand. And here's another bias for you. My local newspaper, so there was a guy, and he had a protest for the climate emergency that is currently ongoing or whatever. Well, the Sarnia Observer, 3 days beforehand, made a press release for him. And, good for him if he wants to have his little climate protest, like, let him have it. And, good for the media to share that. But do you think this side of the aisle has received that type of treatment where they're going to release a press statement stating that people can gather here at this such and such a time and do this at this such and such time? It's like it's free advertisement for this guy who wants to run a climate protest. But people are concerned about indoctrination of children. Wow. We can't be having that now. We're not going to mention this in our papers or make public notice. In fact, we're just going to ignore it until the very time of it happening, and then we're going to put whatever spin we want on it that's convenient for us.
Do you think this protest sort of resets things for the freedom side of the equation? If you understand what I mean.
Oh, no. Yeah, I understand. I don't know about that because this is a different beast. Yes, all the same freedom people are there, right? All of the people that were attending the anti-mandate rallies and all of that were there. And I mean, during the speeches where I was at, of course, they let them know that, oh, I was in Ottawa when this happened and yada, yada. This is like a new beast, I think. And a lot of these Islamic cultures where they come from, they're extremely socially conservative. And when you wake that kind of old country social conservatism out of these people from, like, they're from Afghanistan, they're from Iran, they're from Iraq, it's going to be different. I think that the freedom movement needs to move on, and that we need to state new objectives, clear objectives, and whether or not this sets things on that motion, I guess I could say I only hope so. Will it, though? Will it achieve anything? I don't know. But I bet you there's a lot of people at city halls all across the country today and at school board offices that were sweating in their pants.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, politicians, they'll... Go ahead.
This could blow up in our face in a really bad way because they could just say, oh, well, these tactics of intimidation and bullying will not be tolerated in our democracy. They're already making similar spins to that, right? So who's to say that they're going to turn around and just say these types of intimidation and bullying won't be tolerated and we must throw these people in camp? This could blow up on everybody very easily. And I know you're feeling good about it right now. I'm feeling good about it right now because, nobody engaged with these bullies that were at the Sarnia protest today. In fact, when they were screaming in my face, they just said, "Jesus loves you," and I kept walking by. And that's really all. I'm going to start a fight with these weirdos.
Yeah, that's wise. Well, we'll see where we go from here. I was surprised and pleasantly so. I never expected the crowds to be this big all across Canada. I knew that where they'd get people, but on a Wednesday to get this blows my mind. Yeah.
I will say, I have a little pride in Canada now. Like I haven't had pride in this country, and I believe I said something to the tune of, Canada sucks on this program before. But I do feel a little bit better about how I feel about the country. And I want to say to the whole country, thank you, Canada, for showing up and for speaking the truth, which I think we did, and I think most people were humble about it. And most of these people are Christian or Islamic, and I think the best aspects of those religions really showed themselves today. And yeah. I think that's to be commended greatly.
Great words, Brendan. Great words. I'm so glad you called today.
Thank you, my friend. Well, thanks for having me. And I just wanted to call and share my experience. And I wish you well. I'll be listening for the rest of the night. You have a good one.
All right, my good friend Brendan. Thanks, Brendan. See ya.
Thank you. Bye now.
Okay, here's Tony from London, Ontario. How you doing today?
Hey, Rick, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Good. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Well, Rick, I just, they've awakened up the mama bears and the papa bears to protect the baby bears. And I know that sounds silly, but it's true. And quite frankly, I hate it when people are wolves in sheep's clothing and they pretend to be the victims when the reality is that they're, wolves in sheep's clothing. And I really detest that. It just makes my blood boil. Yeah. And Jordan Peterson had an hour and a half podcast. He was interviewed by some English chap, about a month, about 5 weeks ago. And he says in our society, there's these people are just, they're like Justin Trudeau's. They have no conscience. They're snakes in the grass. And he says, normally you have about 3%. When it gets above that, we wake up and say, oh, society wakes up and says, we got to beat back these snakes. Well, I think that's what we're doing. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I understand what you mean. It's just that they have too much power. They've pushed too far. They've become too extreme. I've said this before. The country is run right now by extremists, and it's no good.
The lunatic fringe.
Yeah. Yep.
The lunatic. They used to call it the lunatic fringes, and now, you put them in charge, and it's the tail wagging the dog. And what Jordan Peterson basically succinctly said, he said, unfortunately, the conservative side, we're good people for the most part, and we're just not organized enough to counter-offensive. We're sort of disorganized. Our efforts are kind of bogged down by our own, inability to get traction in terms of counter-protest, or protest, I should say, viewing or getting our views. But, it doesn't help that the press is owned by the government. I forget the gentleman. He's quaintly, not so quaintly, called them prostitutes, which I think is a pretty accurate description. But, it all comes down to, this is right out of the communist playbook. You destroy the foundations of democracies by attacking the family, religion, conservative governing, and that's exactly it's one of the basic. Yuri Bazmanov basically said that you destroy from within, and this is right out of the communist playbook. These are just, as Jordan Peterson phrased it, useful idiots, and the people behind this that are using them. I mean, these counter protesters and whatever fringe groups you want to call it, and it's all to bring down democracies and have a communist type government. And socialism is just the predecessor to communism. But do you see that as well, Rick, or am I?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Blowing smoke.
I definitely see that. I see various political forces. It's hard to know who they are, but they're using social media, information warfare tactics to just erode and chip away at the stability of our country every day.
Well, going in history, back in history, it's one of Churchill's books. He wrote about how Hitler had these two basically Secret Service type of groups, and most of them were homosexual men. And he used them to, bring down the Wehrmacht. But then when he no longer needed them, he quite brilliantly pitted one against the other, and they wiped out each other. Because they're dangerous, because they can get you to power, but then when you're in power, they can easily take you down. So what you do is you pit one against the other, and you wipe them up. They wipe each other out. I don't have the book in front of me, but it was Churchill brilliantly detailed how Hitler did that. And I mean, this is history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. It does have similarities in tactics, but. It just fascinated me to see the similarities.
And it seemed to me that's what the government was trying to do with these unions, was to try to get them, instead of having the protesters kind of come up against maybe police, right? They thought, no, we'll throw a bunch of other citizens at them. We'll send in our they sent in Antifa essentially through the unions. They were hoping to mobilize them, and so you've got the people fighting each other, right? While he sits back in his ivory tower and laughs.
That's exactly it, and Rick, even the Americans have noticed how brutally the trucker convoy leadership was treated. I mean, when Bernardo is in a medium security prison, and yet, Tamara Litch was like shackled and handcuffed back, last year, and treated so horribly. Even the Americans have stood up and taken notice, and it really reflected badly on Canada. So much so that I'm thinking, where will Canada be in 5 years? And I see western provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, probably Manitoba, they could easily separate, and then Quebec would go, and our country could literally be balkanized if we're not careful.
I see that too.
And last year, I think a year ago, I don't know if it was German chancellor or one of his ministers came hat in hand asking Trudeau, we could have made tens of billions of dollars, thousands of jobs. And Trudeau basically said, nope, can't help you with oil, gas, liquefied natural gas. And this, can I say something about climate change?
Yep.
I wish we had a time machine and we could send back David Suzuki and Al Gore and Greta Thunberg and Leonardo DiCaprio and send them back to, Toronto area 12,500 years ago, when there was like a 2 kilometer thick ice sheet covering 2/3 of North America and most of Europe, Northern Europe. They would be saying, we have to warm up the climate. We have to warm up the climate. These idiots. Climate changes. And you know what, Rick? I haven't heard any scientists. Scientists concur. Climate change. Not one of them has said we're going to spend hundreds of trillions of dollars. So what's the end result? What's the optimal result going to be? Sunshine every day, no storms. and another fact is, if you bring up the Vostok ice core samples, David Suzuki breaks out in a cold sweat because that was a combination of France and Russia. And the climate 1,000 years ago was even warmer than what it is now.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they called Greenland Greenland and why Greenland was settled by the Vikings. And then another fact is that during the dinosaur age, 65 million years ago or more, the carbon in the atmosphere is 10 times what it is now.
Yeah.
And what do plants take in and produce oxygen? CO2, carbon dioxide. Is that amazing? If you took out so much carbon out of the atmosphere, the planet would die.
Yeah.
But, that's what happens when teachers don't teach anymore, when they start teaching their political doctrine and rather than teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yep.
So, to me, again, another bunch of useful idiots trying to pull the wool over what Robert Ringer wrote back in the 70s, self-help books, Winning Through Intimidation, Looking Out for Number One. He calls them the diaper corps, people under 25 that don't know which way is up, and people over 30 that still play with rattles and are basically kind of infantile in mentality. Yeah. That they're easily fooled by these Pied Pipers. And I tell you, the media, that's the biggest knot to the conservative, right-thinking, correct-thinking people, traditionalists, whatever you want to call us, is that the media are bought and sold prostitutes or basically they're whoremongers. They're wholly owned. They should be ashamed of themselves. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they can look themselves in the mirror and think that they're presenting the truth when you started out, there were still journalists there, but now they're just paid hacks, aren't they?
Yeah, well, especially at the network level. I think you get into the local communities and you get the local reporters.
There's still some there.
Yeah, because they're covering local news and, that they're not on it. They're not. There's still political bias, but they're a little more balanced, right? But at the network level, yeah, I think there's just a lot of pressure and a lot more control.
Well, can I get one more shot in it before I let you go? Yeah. Jagmeet Singh, how does he get away with being, people think he's such a great guy. I think he's even a bigger narcissist than Trudeau. I think he's even a bigger snake, because he's smarter than Trudeau. I think he's even a bigger snake in the grass than Trudeau. And people better watch out for that guy. And I'll leave it at that, Rick. I'll let you get some other callers in. But good talking to you again.
Hey, good to talk to you too. Thank you.
See you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And here's Pam, all the way from British Columbia. How are you tonight?
Yay! Am I on?
You're on.
Oh my gosh! Thank God! I'm so thrilled and excited and exhilarated. I went down and covered the protest in Nanaimo today.
Yeah.
And videotaped it. So I'm new at videotaping, so maybe we can talk off the show, and you can tell me what format and how I need to send these, because I'm really new at it. This is my first time videotaping. So, okay. But anyways, I interviewed some people. But here's what happened. Everybody met at City Hall at about 10:30, and it's on a hill. And down from the hill, you can see the ocean and the beautiful sea around Nanaimo and the port. And so it looked like the counter protesters were on the high ground at the hill at City Hall, and then the real person, the 1 million person march, that group was across the street and on the sidewalk. And the police were good. There weren't too many of them, but they were lined up just making sure no one was stepping on the street. They wanted everybody to the sidewalks. So I followed them down to the ocean. And I interviewed a few people on the way, and I was on the side with the rainbow group, shall we call it, on that side of the street. And so I was asking them, and none of them really wanted to be interviewed. It was odd. And then I got down and I started interviewing the other side, and man, they were all open to being talked to. But the colors and the outfits that these people on the rainbow side were wearing, like one guy looked like a bat out of hell, another guy looked like two cats. And I mean, and then you get a lot of like, they really believe what they're doing is right, you know.
Yeah.
And then I interviewed a guy with he was a corrections officer, and we talked about unions, and he used to be in a union, and he can't understand how these guys are out here and that whole. So we were discussing that, but here's the point, and I won't stay on too long because I'll have to email you and give you my number so you can you see my number?
At the moment I can, yes. Yep.
Okay, can you call me sometime?
I'd love to call you
Because
sometime. We can have a nice chin wag.
Okay, because I think there's going to be a lot more happening out here.
Okay.
I really do. I was talking to a lot of people, and I told them I used to be a reporter. I told them about you. I said that you are one of the best stations to go to. And then I even told a Muslim guy who got up on a bench and started telling people how to get away from mainstream media. I asked him to do this, and he did it. And he was a great speaker, and I have him on video.
Okay.
And there were so many Muslim people there, and there was a Jewish person with a shofar. And you know when they had that leaked video, right, that you aired the other night?
Oh, yeah.
It was a leaked video of okay. So in that video, I watched it in full separately again, and they were claiming that the protesters were racist. Well, if they're racist, why are there so many different creeds and colors and ages out protesting against this unionized group?
Yeah.
Why? And who's paying the wages for this unionized group? Who's paying their wages? It's us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So people are starting to get it. So anyways, here's my theory. Light to dark has been going on for a long time. It hasn't been in the open. And now it's coming to a situation of dark to light situations. These worms are starting to crawl up from the surface, and we're starting to see them. And that is a good thing. It's coming out where we can see them. You wouldn't believe what I saw today and what I heard. Anyways, I won't want to keep you too long, but you know, you got to think of Jagmeet Singh. He's from BC, right? And yet he's not too popular. And then where was Pierre Poilievre today? If Jagmeet Singh can be out there, and Pierre's running for the Conservative Party, why isn't he out there?
I don't know. I think if I were handling Pierre Poilievre, given where he's at right now in the polls and everything, I think that it was wise for him to just stay back because it was a volatile situation. We knew from what the union people were saying that things might get out of hand. And if you're a politician, you kind of don't want to get anywhere near anything negative like that, right? Because especially if the mainstream media can then use that to spin it in a negative way. So it was a high-risk situation for him to come out and, without knowing where things were going to go, jump into it, you know?
Yeah, look what happened to Trump when he stood up and spoke his mind.
Mm. Yeah, well,
you know,
and the people around him, too. Yeah.
Yeah, media is unionized, most of these news stations, aren't they?
The television stations, mostly yes. Radio stations, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, newspaper was a mixed bag too, but they got rid of all the ones that weren't unionized. I got caught up in that, and that's why I was no longer a reporter. They bought them all up and then closed them in about 2014, you know. So, but yeah, I've got some good interviews, Ricky baby. So I'll keep up a good job. Boy, you worked so well last night, and I'm glad you had Leo on there for a while. And you know, Leo's so funny. I just love that guy. And I just you were so good last night, like a psychiatrist almost. You know, you handled it beautifully. You did. Hats off to you, buds. You just handled it beautifully. And but emotions, we're running high a little bit today. I saw a little bit of that. There was one woman who had some protesters came up and they were near her, and they were, when I came up to the scene, they were yelling at each other. And that's the only yelling I really saw, except for the leader of the Rainbow Bunch, and she was yelling back and forth with a flag and really yelling, and then the people behind her are saying, don't hate, and yet they're all, you know, this woman, you should see the look on her face and the way she's yelling, she's so aggressive, and everybody could see that she was full of hate. Yeah. And then there's like, it was just so obvious. But the Muslim people, they were beautiful. I talked to some of them, and they smiled at me, and I went right up on both sides because no one knew who I was, and I went up on both sides, right up to them, and right took pictures of their signs, and they thought, each side thought I was, oh wow, you know, the rainbow side said, oh, she's with us, and so they're, you know, proudly displaying things and smiling. And then I went up to the other side, and I just kind of put my thumb up to certain people, and they really, you know, I was hunched down and taking videos, and I got right close. Like, they were big circles, and they stood back from the speakers. I got right up in front of them, like within 2 or 3 feet, bent down underneath them and videotaped and what they were saying, and nobody bothered me.
Well, that's good.
And the police were really cool too. They, you know, when I was going there, I went up Boys in Blue. There's some on bikes, you know, and they smiled. And yeah, most of the police they're just there to make sure to direct traffic more than anything. I think, right. You know, like, yeah. So it was pretty, for the most part, it was really, really peaceful. And there were some people from Ontario here.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
And and they had been at the, I guess it was the trucker protest. There was one lady there with a red cowboy hat, and I'd seen her, I think, in some of the Freedom Convoy videos, and so that was interesting. And then they played some nice music, and you know, the protesters, and in between their speeches, and yeah, it was really good, Rick. So give me a call, and I'll just try and get these videos. Now, I don't know how to edit. Maybe you can give me a few tips. I pick up things pretty quickly, but like I said, I've never been in the video world. I was just a photo still journalist for the paper and a reporter. I don't know how to do the video thing.
Okay. Yeah, well, there are lots of options out there.
And I know how to interview people. Like I got some good interviews.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the effort, and we can certainly chat.
Okay.
All right. Looking forward.
All right. So when should I? Would the call be coming from the same number that I call in to you at?
No. No, this
because I have it on call display.
Yeah, this number is exclusively for the call-in show. I have your phone number right here, so I will call you, and I will try to do that tomorrow morning.
Oh, perfect, my dear. Perfect. Now, I'm on BC time.
Yeah.
So 3 hours, I think it's from Ontario, right?
Yeah, so if I call you about noon my time, that'll be about 9 my time. Maybe 1 o'clock. I'll give you a little extra time to open your eyes and shake off get the sleep out of them and stretch.
Yeah, I know. I realized how out of shape I was today because I probably walked about 8 miles. And I was just like, oh my God, by getting a cramp in my leg. And I took a friend who knew nothing about this that was happening. And then we went to the mall, and I was so hyped up, and I talked to people there, and they didn't even know this was going on. And so when I was walking down with the march, they said, well, if you're a reporter, why can't you start a YouTube channel and report on this? I said, I'm learning. I don't know how. And they said, well, if you do, there'll be so many of us coming to you. And I thought, great. So in the meantime, I just told them about you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So good tips off. And I love Leo. He did such a great job last night, I mean, and that those guys were, but that's a perfect example of how emotions are in some people are running high, and we're living in those times. And I hope they learn to get a grip on their emotions, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's just going to eat them alive if they don't. Anyways, hats off, and I love you, Ricky, and say hi to your wife and your family, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, Pam. Have a great night.
You're welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
And that's Pam. And that gets us to 8:19, almost 8:30 tonight. So let's just, I'm just going to pull out of that for a moment. And I just want to run this from earlier today. Let me just close that down. I just want to replay this little section here because this was the most amazing thing today that I saw. And this is from my trip downtown in my community where, here it is here. I just want to, you may have missed this because it was, this morning. But this was amazing what happened with these folks. Both sides really, I thought, were so well behaved. And it just was such a positive thing. Best darn protest ever, really. So watch what happens here, folks. This blew me away. I was so happy. This is the march in Chatham, Ontario, where I live.
Good morning.
Love you. Good morning.
Well,
counter protest.
Here you are. The big counter protest.
Not really a counter protest.
Yeah, it's just
supporting love. Yeah, love you very much.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys this morning.
You too.
How are you?
Great. How's it
going? Good. So what's your sign say? It says forcing children to gender roles is, oh, hello.
I love you.
Woo! No, excuse me. Hey guys. Hi. Good morning. This is the best freaking protest ever. You know that? This is the best counter protest ever.
I love you so much.
Yeah, this is great.
So the union people were, there's Elwood from the local paper.
I love you.
My friend.
I love you so much. I love you. I love you too. I love you. I love you.
It's great.
I love you, Daddy. I love you.
Look at this.
We have different thoughts and we can love each other. I love you.
Wow.
I love you. I love you too. I know. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.
Wow.
And they're still coming. Pretty darn good crowd for a Wednesday in a small town. Excellent. How are you guys? Good. Good. Good job.
Yep. Good job.
That's pretty amazing.
Isn't it? Wow.
Wow.
Love you.
Yeah. Pretty darn good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
See you, Elwood.
Amazing. Just amazing. Yeah. And then they went over there and they stood by the side of the road and
Okay.
they, you know, they
Here you go.
chanted and stuff like that, but incredible. Just incredible. Hey, you know what? They tried it in a small town. And that's what they got. You know what it leaves me with? Hope. Hope. Made me proud of my town too, you know. And my country. I'm with Brendan on that one. Yeah. Absolutely. Guys, I am so tired. I am so tired. I'm amazed. If I sit here any longer, I'm gonna fall asleep like Sleepy Joe. I can't. I gotta go. But I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the program. Just a reminder that you can support the show by donating at freedomreporters.com or maverickdonations.com. Today was a great day. Not perfect, but a far sight better than most of the days we've had over the past 3 years. And an absolute victory on many fronts for freedom. And I'm so grateful that it just went down in a positive way overall. So thank you, everybody, again, for spending your time here with me. As always, an absolute privilege. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.